We begin with the budget. The two-year, $31 billion executive branch budget has crossed its first hurdle. The Kentucky House passed House Bill 500 with some committee changes that addressed initial concerns over a sudden spike in insurance for public workers. But other concerns of the Democratic minority were laid out in the bill's nearly two-hour debate. At least half a dozen amendments by House Democrats that look to provide more money for schools, housing, pre-K retirees, and more were voted down.
It fails to consider many of the things that Kentuckians across the state need and deserve, and I hope that the Senate will do better.
So we can talk about all of this stuff that we would like to see, because guess what? I would like to see a lot of it too. But the fact of the matter is we have to live within our means. When we add up all these floor amendments here, there's a lot more than we can afford to pay for.
The bill passed the House on mostly party lines. Governor Andy Beshear shared in Thursday's Team Kentucky that he is hopeful to work with the Senate on getting more of his administration's requests included. Representative Hancock, I want to start here with you. There were some harsh words towards Democrats on the floor there, shared by Representative Braze. You just saw in that clip, especially over some of the floor amendments that were filed. He portrayed them as performative, even, that no prior conversations has happened. They feel like y'all do have a seat at the table. So what was your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, I think there are a lot of great things in this budget, and I can't imagine the budget process because I do not have a seat at that table. So I know that there's a lot of, exhaustion that goes into it, and I'm sure tempers were a little bit flared for that reason. I feel that what we need to do is focus our budget on what the needs are of Kentuckians. And what we hear from our constituents is there is affordability crisis in housing and food. I mean, we go to the grocery, it's expensive. So our young families are struggling with childcare. So our budget proposals filled those needs. I do want to take a point of clarification because in addition to what Representative Bray had said there was about our governor's travel and talking about the money that he spent on travel. And I want to clarify that, because I do know the governor personally, that any of this travel that he's done is to better Kentucky, not himself. And I think it shows when he is at the table of like a World Economic Forum, and representing Kentucky on a national stage is important, especially with the tariffs that have come down from the federal level, closing the Blue Oval plant, crippling our bourbon industry. He needs to be out there representing Kentucky on a world stage, because we are in a world where finances are happening on a higher level. And I don't know any state that wouldn't be happy that our governor is representing us so well on the world stage.
Well, Representative Moser, I want to give you a chance to respond there, but also the question I want to pose to you, Democrats and advocates alike felt like a little too much was being directed to reserves in an attempt to budget towards another tax cut. Will it become a lot harder to reach that goal if we go through more budget cycles where the purse is a little bit tighter than it was before?
Well, I think that, a $31.56 billion budget is, it's designed to meet the needs of our Kentuckians, our citizens, as Representative Hancock said. And I believe that we have achieved a lot of the goals that we really set out to achieve. We have addressed all of those, all the concerns that we were getting emails about, hearing from our constituents, the insurance issues and the some of the education issues, and it is a hard budget. We are required to balance our budget every year, every
Constitutionally,
year. Yeah, exactly, and so I think that shouldn't get lost on folks. We have a finite amount of money. We are looking to put money back in the pockets of our Kentuckians, and so it's going to be a little bit more challenging. There is quite a lot of money in the base, and we have spent a lot of time. I know that the chairs of Appropriations and Revenue have spent a lot of time trying to get information and have really actually struggled to get the information that they need to make these decisions. So, when there is money available in the base, we need to know about that and really focus on the real needs. Mm-hmm. And I think we did. I think we did a lot of that yesterday, and of course over the course of the last several months, if not years.
And you touched on something, there are a lot of kudos were shared over that change, over the insurance cap, some modest increases as well to education. Medicaid is jumping out as a big sticking point in the debate. There's more concern about fraud from your side. Is funding going to be able to root that out?
Well,
Or less funding?
Less funding. Well, I think that we now have a system in place to address how we best look at Medicaid. How do we audit Medicaid? We really haven't been able to dig down on what's working and what's not. And I think the Medicaid Oversight Advisory Board is going to allow us to do that. We heard House Bill 2 on the House floor this morning. And so that is really seeking to align Kentucky with some of these federal changes. It's going to be difficult. I mean, there's no doubt. So as far as rooting out fraud, I always on the forefront. But more than fraud probably is just waste and duplication of services. And so, and we don't have a great way to really look at outcomes and seeing if what we're paying for is making a difference in the health of our citizens.
Your thoughts on the Medicaid debate, Representative Hancock?
Well, I think that we definitely, no one wants to waste money on spending, and I don't think the Medicaid program is designed to be wasteful. I mean, these folks are our most vulnerable people in our population. They deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, the same as somebody who can't afford private insurance. There's no reason we should be treating them any differently. I think our concerns with the Medicaid cuts, which have been shared across the aisle, are the unintended consequences of somebody losing their coverage when they need it most. The unintended consequences of somebody who doesn't have the resources to even fill out the paperwork. I mean, these are some of our, mental health issues in the state. Representative Marzan got up and shared a personal story about a young man that won't even leave his house, and then there's these work requirements. So while we know that there are issues of waste, fraud, and abuse, we definitely don't want to penalize the people who actually need the coverage and get kicked off the coverage because of somebody that's doing something nefarious.
Looking forward to see this debate continue to play out.
I was just going to jump
Very
in and
quickly.
say, for some of those issues, there are exemptions. And so we don't have work requirements for the severely mentally ill or chronically ill and many others. So, we are taking that into consideration.
All right. This week was President Donald Trump's first State of the Union for his second term. We'll look at some of the reaction